Hi everyone, Colleen Patrick-Goudreau here, and I'm very sad because Michko was just here showing her belly and being very cute, and she just stepped away. She's over there. Michi! Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I have to confess, I have a confession. I cheated on you. Just a little bit. The other night, I did a live video on Instagram. Some of you joined me over on Instagram, which is doing live videos now, which is wonderful. And tonight I'm here with you. So I can go back and forth. A little open relationship. I'm sure you don't mind. So I'm here to just talk to you. I just want to say hi. I have experienced a roller coaster ride today, just I think like so many of us are experiencing. And I just wanted to talk to you about the way I decided to feel hopeful today and what I think is real in terms of us feeling hopeful. And I want to call you to task because we talked many weeks ago when the election first happened about what I was really encouraging people to do in terms of being engaged locally and on the federal level in terms of knowing who their representatives are in Congress, locally and federally. And I think it's very important. So I'm going to hold you to task and ask if you have found out who your representatives are, your members of Congress. I hope by now you have. And I was encouraging you to put them in a document on your phone or in your computer, on your computer. And also, I really want to encourage you to get those numbers on your phone, in your actual contacts, because to be able to make a phone call like that and express your concern or joy over something that's happening is so important. I personally have been trying to call Senator Feinstein all day. She's one of my senators here in California, and her phone line has been busy all day. Literally all day. I've called like a million times and it's been busy all day, but I will call tomorrow and I will also be writing a letter to her. So again, one of the things we talked about was writing a postcard, writing a letter, and calling and in-person connections are the most important ways to connect. Sending email, it's just going to get lost. So making a phone call, and I'm actually going to do a little video for you so that you can see how easy it is to make a phone call to your congressman or woman and urge them to pass or oppose something that you care about or are concerned about. They work for you. They're there for you. The reason they're called representatives because they don't represent the sun and the moon and the stars. They represent you. So as your representative, your voice in Congress, it's so important to contact them. And it's so important to also contact them even when things are going swell, because I think one of the reasons we're in the place we're in right now is because we all of us are guilty of getting complacent. When things are going well, we go home too soon, and we went home too soon. And there's still more work to be done. There was work to be done all those years that we may have felt that someone was representing what we cared about, and yet there was a lot more to do. So now we're held to task and we've got work to do. And so we need to let our representatives know what we think about and that we also support them when they're passing things that we do care about. So hello everyone. Hello, beautiful Fernanda. I know. Hi, Alma. Colleen, I'm looking to you to bring hope back today. It's been a rough week. I know. Hi, Isaac. And Erin says, thanks so much. Easy to get overwhelmed right now. Good to remember that we have to stay focused. I am not going to lie to you. I would not lie to you. Never lie to you. It's been rough. It's been rough. And I'm really kind of just digging in and pulling down deep to really practice what I really believe to be true. And it's, some of the things may seem crazy and some of them are imperative. I have definitely been on a roller coaster ride. Hello, Gina from New York. One of the things I had to do was stop reading all of the news stories whose headlines were very emotional and very emotion grabbing. And I just had to stop doing that. I actually took Twitter off my phone just because I was getting too engaged kind of deep in that. And that doesn't mean I'm not listening to NPR and, and reading the newspapers that I read, but I also had to stop immersing myself as much. So just kind of knowing what the balance is. I also talk a lot to the people I trust and care about, and just kind of, it's important to just bounce these things off. It's been 8 years since I cried over the president. 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, those were years that felt so sad and heavy and dark. And I've never felt like this before. And I think so many of us are feeling it. Hi, Canada. Yeah, and I think it is okay to take breaks, and I think it is okay to take breaks from the news. And again, just knowing what you're finding a balance. So that's one thing. And I'm very much not disengaged. It actually has been really helpful because it's really enabled me to really focus on my work. So I've gotten a lot done today. One of the things I did was I wrote an editorial, and I spent time submitting it to several different newspapers today. The editorial is on animals who would be affected by this administration. And the other thing I did today was worked really hard trying to get a hold of my senator, couldn't, but I called some other senators, both a Republican and a Democratic senator who's on the Committee for Environmental Affairs, to urge them to oppose Scott Pruitt. I know there are a lot of appointees of the Trump administration who are very challenging to imagine as being in the cabinet. The one for me that is so concerning and so glaringly obviously a problem is Pruitt being the head of the EPA. This is a man who has sued the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, numerous times, and someone who sues the agency because of the regulatory policies, again, like regulating industry, and he has sued them because he doesn't like those policies, the clean water and clean air, et cetera. That's a problem for the person who's heading it. So I have expressed my concern to my senator and my senators. Kamala Harris isn't on the committee, but just contacting Kamala Harris, letting her know that I'm with her and that I really appreciate her being a voice for us. Reaching out to my local council members, just staying involved locally. There's a lot to do. So it's been a trying time, and I was reading the news. Yeah, exactly, Kath. It's true. I do take comedy breaks, and my husband and I actually watch a lot of comedy, and comedy breaks are so important. But even I was reading, I read a headline. I did read a headline just before I called you. Before I called you, I was reading a headline, and it's so crazy making that I actually laughed because it's so insane. What's happening is so insane. So for a moment, I actually got some joy, and I thought, this cannot sustain itself. It cannot sustain itself. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, I don't have my hand in what that looks like. I just really trust truth, and I trust compassion, and I trust righteousness, and I trust you, and I trust me, and I trust the people who represent me, and I trust the good people who believe in compassion and unity and justice, and I just do trust all of those things, and that's what I'm holding on to. And so wherever you can find that is where to look for it. And I've already expressed my deep, deep gratitude for a book that I'm going to really encourage all of you to buy. You probably are reading it right now. You may have already bought it. I'm sure you've heard this recommendation. It was written 10 years ago or more during the Bush administration, and it's written by Rebecca Solnit, and it's called Hope in the Dark. And it is absolutely feeding me right now. And I really, really recommend it. And it's, what I love about her work is she's not saying everything's going to be fine. Things have been bad before. Don't worry. Hold on. It's going to be great. Right? That I have my own sense of, I believe in the greater picture. Okay. I can step back and go, no, in the end, I'm not going to fall off the earth. We're not going to fall, right? I mean, in the end, ultimately, we're not going to be whatever I have to look forward to find that ultimate hope. But what she is saying, and I just absolutely love this, is that the darkness that she's talking about in her title, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again because it's so profound and it needs to be heard and it needs to be, I think, embraced, is the darkness that she's referring to is not the darkness of inevitable evil. Just because the future looks dark, it doesn't mean it's inevitably bleak. It means that it's inscrutable. It means that you can't see what's on the other side. It means that it hasn't been written yet. And in it not having been written yet means that we're the authors of the future. So looking at the darkness and thinking, oh, it's just awful. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be terrible. We're all doomed. That's not, I don't share that thought. I don't share that thought. And I think it's safe to say that Rebecca Solnit, at least that's what I'm gleaning from her book, doesn't share that thought. That just because we can't see what lies ahead, even though you might get little bits and pieces, you still can't see what lies ahead. And in that darkness, in that unknowingness, is the possibility. How wonderful is that? And it means that we're the authors. It means there's a future to be written, and we're the authors of that future. So what future are you writing? What's the future you're going to write? Where are you? What do you believe in? How are you going to manifest that future? That's what I find hope in, is in that dark. And how beautiful is that? So I'm really bummed because I actually went to Rebecca Solnit's website to thank her and to just connect with her. And there's no contact information on her website. But she's in San Francisco, so maybe I'll just go try and track her down in San Francisco. Erin said, if anyone wants a little comic catharsis, Conan OBrien did a segment featuring Triumph, the insult comic dog, at the inauguration. I laughed harder than I thought it was possible right now. That's good to know, Erin. That's really good to know. I love it. I love it. I love it. We've watched some of Triumph. Why can't I? Hello, there you are. We've watched some of Triumph. We did some. I have to say, David put on Trevor Noah the other night, and I just finished Trevor Noah's book. We were in South Africa, and it was really lovely to read his book and his words while we were traveling to the country he was born in. A country still ravaged by racism and apartheid, economic apartheid, and so he put it in. But I don't know. There's still I don't tend to gravitate toward humor and comedians that are relevant to this administration and to the politics, just because it's like a wound that's still open and it just keeps picking away at it. So I tend to go back to our favorite comic episodes, TV shows. So we watch a lot of Blackadder, which, whatever. We've seen the episodes a gazillion times, but we still go back to them. We were watching episodes of The Office and outtakes of The Office. We watch, what was the other thing we were watching? Yeah, just kind of tried and true humor that we feel really comfortable with. Hello, Nicky. I know, he's brilliant. So for the few minutes that I have with you, does that give you something to hold on to? Does that give you something to feel hopeful about? Is just trusting in the truth and trusting in the power of good, in the power of compassion. I said this back several weeks ago when we were talking about this, and I read that quote from Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings comes up in my world many times. I think there's a deer. I get so distracted if there's an animal. I'm sorry. Hold on. Is there? I hear an animal. And sounds like there's a deer out there. And they're not there. There's two kitties there, so I know it's not my kitties. Anyway, it's that wonderful moment in Lord of the Rings. It's in the Two Towers, and it's when they're just feeling, just tired, and and it's Frodo who's just whining and complaining again. And Sam just talks about these stories that he's heard, because one of the other things that Rebecca Solnit talks about in Hope in the Dark that I love is using history. And I talked about this in a blog post, so I want to connect with her, is that history is what gives me hope for the future. Because when you look back at the past, A, that we've been here before, Unfortunately, we have, maybe not specifically the way it looks in the United States, but we have been here. We as a civilization have been here before. But also we have come so far and we've done so much. So looking at the past and remembering those stories, not having amnesia, not thinking things were awful all the time and not thinking things were rosy all the time, but actually having a really clear perspective about the past. And one of the things I loved about what Sam said in The Two Towers in Lord of the Rings was, he says, I really get it now. I really get what these stories meant. I really get it. These folks were fighting for something. They didn't give up. And I always get teary-eyed. Frodo said, what is it that we're fighting for? And Sam says that there's some good left in the world and it's worth, he said, what are we holding on to? So Sam says, these stories, and they're holding on to the things. And Frodo says, what are we holding on to? And Sam says that there's some good left in the world and it's worth fighting for. That's like Lord of the Rings condensed. That there is some good in the world and it's worth fighting for. And I believe that. I do. And we can't roll over. We can't look at the future and that darkness and think it's all going to be bad, because we're just feeding into, that's not the truth. It's just not the truth. I'm not saying that there aren't going to be things that are really problematic, and there are going to be some things that are going to be really bad. There are. People will suffer, animals will suffer, the environment's going to suffer, the future, climate change, this could be written, it's being written all the time by all of us. So I'm not saying that in this Pollyanna way, but we have to keep perspective that we're the authors of the future. And I know for sure that I'm going to write it. I'm going to write it. I'm going to write this future. I'm not letting anybody else write it. I'm going to write it. So if you're with me to write this future, Gina says, I have a question about being sick with the common cold and using products we grew up with that contains harmful ingredients like the red dye 40, like NyQuil, the throat spray. Oh my God, I remember that throat spray. Do you use these products or have you found any natural products? Oh my gosh, what a funny question. Not funny, just off topic. That's okay. The answer is, yeah, there are times I definitely use NyQuil when I am at my worst, when I have been really sick. I don't know what ingredients in there, if there still is the red dye 40. The one that is it red dye 40? I'd have to look. But the truth is, yeah, I do it once in a while, like once in a blue moon. It's not like I drink NyQuil every night. But damn it, when you're feeling bad and you're feeling really sick, I have definitely taken NyQuil. I haven't done that chloroseptic spray since I was a kid, so now I don't buy that. And generally, when I feel bad, the first thing I do is just make my garlic and green soup and make ginger tea, and that always works. Yes, indeed, Erin. All the best to you. So I'm hoping that helps a little bit. I think I might go on Instagram and just give them a little pep talk too. I think we all need a pep talk. What do you think? I'm losing light. If I'm losing light, that means that might be the end of my spiel. All right, everybody. Colleen Patrick-Goudreau, signing out. If you want to go see me on Instagram, you might hear the same thing. Oh, good. Oh, good. That's awesome, Gina. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad that was helpful. If it was. But yeah, NyQuil. NyQuil sometimes is good. All right, Nicky. No worries. You don't have to correct yourself. Good to see you, Sandy. Gotcha. All right, everybody. I'll see you later. Take care. Thanks again. Bye.